You might have $1 million skill and get paid $50,000 a year to do it. And to me, I see that as an inequality. And this is a very personal experience because for my entire career, I have been given the responsibility, rather, I've taken the responsibility of helping people become more successful in business. And my focus has always been on the top line and the bottom line. I don't care about how many followers I get you. I don't care about how many likes you get. I don't care if people like you or not. I care about, are we moving the business forward? Are we generating new revenue? Are we generating recurring revenue? Are we generating a profit? How much of a profit? That's what I care about. And that's what I've been responsible for. And so I would make people millions of dollars while only getting paid 50 to 70 grand a year to do so. And that's because that's the way the regular job market works. Like, I know you feel me. Like, you can see the impact of what you're doing at a larger level, but like, you're still just a tiny player on the board. And it's not just in advertising that I felt that way. It's when I took a summer job selling home security systems. I'm selling these security systems, these smart home systems for thousands of dollars, and I only get paid a few $100s one time to do it. It's like, there are people higher than me that are making a ton of money and they're not doing the work that actually gets the sale. And I felt like it wasn't right, but not so much to the point where I wanted to change what they had going on to suit me. I just wanted to trade positions with them. And that's what this video is about, is like, how do you finally get paid what you're actually worth? And that is like the trick for people who are experts or professionals at what they do, and you know how to make people money, or you know how to enhance people's experiences or economics. Like, you have to figure out, like, I create this much value. How do I go from being paid down here and get closer to the value that I actually provide? So the answer is actually pretty simple, and we'll start with that, and we'll talk about like how you actually put that into practice. So the answer is, you need to change your monetization vehicle. So follow along with me. Everybody has a way of making money. You could be an Atlanta water boy, you can be Tim Cook. Like, everybody has a different way to make money. That's what I'm calling your monetization vehicle. If you are an expert, right, and you know you can pursue a result and achieve a result on behalf of someone else, on behalf of a company, on behalf of your partner, on behalf of a friend, whoever, you know that you can pursue and achieve an outcome, then oftentimes we find ourselves in a very traditional frame of monetizing that skill set. So we find ourselves in jobs, primarily like working for a salary. And then when we wise up, we move into like consulting and see how we can change our titles to basically do the same thing, or an altered version of the same thing, or an enhanced version of the same thing, to get like a higher paying job that usually also requires more time from you and significantly more responsibility usually. So I don't really like that. I went down that path too. And then it's like, when you go into consulting, you have to generate those leads. Unless you're in a lucky position where like your current clients or people that you work with or colleagues are referring you consultation gigs, and that's all cool. But like, how much you get paid on consulting is pretty limited. And I don't mean the dollar amount. I mean, like, it takes a lot of time. Like, so your time is limited, right? Because you have to spend time like with people. And I still do consulting to this day. It's my bottom earner. And most of the time I do it for free at this point, because I actually tend to spend more time consulting with people who need my help the most, which are people who are like starting from zero and they can't afford to pay me what I'm worth. So that's the part that I actually do for free at this point. But if we rewind a couple years, like, you have to go get clients for consulting. Your time is limited. You can only consult with so many people. And then you have to figure out how to price yourself to match the market. And even if you price yourself highly, it's like, how many of these gigs are you going to get per year? It's not the most sustainable way to grow your business, although it can have a place in your business, and it doesn't have to be free like how it is in my business. So let's talk about the practical application of getting you paid what you're worth. Okay, you have to go a little bit beyond consulting. And I'm about to tell you something that you've probably heard on the internet before, but you need to productize your expertise. You hear me? You need to productize your expertise. That's when you start to unlock a whole new tier of income. And it does take time, and it's not the easiest thing in the world to do. But when I tell you, like, it definitely has the potential to be worth it in a big way, let me give you some examples. So a good friend of mine, and also someone that I've published recently, he was a pharmacist. And this is before I met him. So he's a pharmacist and he feels trapped and he wants to create better wealth for himself. He goes full on into learning how to invest in the stock market, not like trading and all that stuff, but like real long-term investments, like Warren Buffett type stuff. And he becomes an expert at it. He starts investing his money. He's getting a positive return. He's outperforming the S&P 500 year over year. And he's figured out a methodology for that. He then can productize his expertise, which is what he did. And without me, he was making like like $8,000 a month. And I think even one year he had made like $100,000 in 1 month, just like productizing his business. He's not an expert at courses. He's not an expert educator. He's not an expert media buyer to buy ads. He's not an expert marketer. He's not expert at any of those things. But because he productized his expertise, he was able to just basically do the bare minimum and sell $8,000 plus a month worth of like that productized expertise, helping people learn how to invest long term in the stock market and build wealth over long periods of time. And which is exactly what he'd been doing for years because he felt like there was a gap. You go from only making, let's say, 120 grand a year as a pharmacist, like in your profession, and then adding another few $1,000s a month, basically another $100,000 a year on top of that, by something that doesn't require nearly as much time as your pharmacy job does. Because it's your pharmacy job, you got to show up, you got to write prescriptions, you have to do whatever pharmacists do. I don't know. But like when you productize your information, it's like you still have to show up and like market it, sure, but that takes significantly less time. I do it all the time. I'm telling you, this is not like guesswork. If it's taking you just as much or more time, especially in the beginning stages, then like when the only person you have to manage is yourself, you should be spending like a very small amount of time in comparison to your full-time thing, your main thing, to get like that productized information out and into people's hands. That fundamentally is how you can begin closing the gap. But you can't just stop there because like I said, as much as I'm sure like $8,000 a month, an additional $8,000 a month sounds great. And believe me, it is great for most people. Like in my opinion, that doesn't meet the actual value that you provide. And I'll give you a few examples beyond this so you can work your way through different scenarios of how applicable this is. Because a lot of times people like to box things into, oh, this is why it worked for him. I'm going to broaden your perspective in a second. But like if you're enabling people to earn this much and you only get paid this much, then you're not, if this is where you are normally, and then you just double that, which is basically what he did, then you're still here out of here. You dig what I'm saying? It's like your progress bar is still on, like you went from 5% to 10%. So there's a whole nother 90% for you to close. What I mean by that is like, if you have the ability to create something as impactful as generational wealth for someone, which is his, like that's his anchor point, because that's what he's doing, right? He's following the real generational wealth playbook and not like the stuff people yap about online that's not actually generational wealth. Like that's hundreds of thousands for some people if they're coming from a very low economic status. Like that generational wealth can carry over loads of impact, or it can be millions, which will carry like a sizable impact for pretty much anybody unless you're so rich that millions of dollars means nothing to you, which I don't know if anybody's that rich. But the point is, you are passing on the ability to build millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of value to people. You're enabling them to do that in their lives. So what you can justify charging for that information is high. And I'll give you an example that we can all relate to: college. Like when you're, and it's not just college, it's any form of paid schooling. When you're going to college and you're choosing a degree, you're going with the intent to become a professional in a field that you'd like to pursue, so that your chances of securing an income and securing a place in the economy is higher. Like your probability is higher because you can step into the industry with an understanding and an ability to contribute, unlike the teams on the companies that serve this industry. So your colleges are able to charge you tens of thousands of dollars per year and hold on to you for 2 to 10 years to say like, hey, you might pay us tens of thousands or even hundreds of, I know people personally with hundreds of thousands of dollars of student loan debt. So tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of dollars you'll pay us, but we'll equip you with the ability to make significantly more than that in your lifetime by landing this career. And so people kind of, when it comes to independent education and like passing on a trade or a skill set, people pretty much downplay themselves and how much they're charging for this information. So for example, my friend, he was charging like $400 for a course that taught people how to build generational wealth and outperform the S&P 500 year over year over year. $400. That's less than some of the stock that these people are about to buy on the market. Like at the time of recording this, that's not even 1% of the value of Bitcoin. Like, you hear what I'm saying? It's like, number one, when you can extrapolate the value of what you're providing, honestly, don't inflate it for a fairy tale, but honestly, think about like, what value can somebody get out of this? Choose a price point that makes sense. Like, don't be nervous about that. Like, choose a price point that makes sense. If I'm enabling you to make millions and millions and millions of dollars, then I need to find a way to charge you hundreds of thousands of dollars. You see what I'm saying? And that's exactly what I do now. And that's how my income 4x'd in 1 year. It's because I figured out, hey, I keep making people millions of dollars. I'm getting paid like 70 grand a year. I don't have any benefits. There's nothing special about how I'm benefiting from the skill sets. However, like everybody else is benefiting from it. So like I had beef with that. So I figured out how I can charge hundreds of thousands of dollars to make these people millions a year. And you basically need to do the same thing. And the best way I see going about it is when you productize your expertise, you can sell units. So you make it once. And this is why people talk about creating courses a lot. So like you make it once and then you sell units. It's the best way. And then people are like, well, I don't really know how to make a course and this, and the third. And it's like, don't even worry about that. Like that part is easy enough. Just like get the information down on paper and then use ChatGPT to help you categorize it. Okay. But the important part is like just practice reaching people and figuring out what makes them tick and figure out the right pricing and create offers that are hard for people to say no to. And what happens is you can spend time and money driving people towards those offers so that they can say yes to you and pay you money for your knowledge, for your expertise. That's the opportunity that we live in right now. Like that's the opportunity. That's how you can close the gap. You see what I'm saying? Like even if you're like a very client focused person, like I am, most of my money is made through working with people directly, not the products that I sell. But what happens is I could do it one of two ways. I can not productize my expertise and just operate purely from service, which is what most people do. And I can spend time and money on generating leads, people who are interested. And then I can have a bunch of sales conversations with those leads, get the people that I need to get, and then go from there, which is low key. You're working backwards to try to move forward. Whereas if you productize your expertise and you sell that along the way, then you can just pick your clients out of your customers. And so instead of like my money going down until I get the right people that bring it back up, my money goes up and I get the right people and it goes further. And so that's how we took my friend's $100,000 a year business and turned it into a $1 million a year business. You see what I'm saying? And so a lot of people think, how can this apply to me? I'll give you some quick examples off the top of my head right now. So my mother, she worked in hospitality at hotels and she had climbed her way down from the GSR, the front desk level, to district manager. And I would always say to her, it's like, I can't remember the exact numbers, but I think it's somewhere around like $30 million a year of revenue and having to manage multiple properties with different problems going on, multiple teams, like different managers, assistant managers, like having to have oversight over all that stuff. And I used to say to her, like, yo, you could productize this and sell it to people who are looking for how to do this. And those people are people who are starting Airbnbs. These are people who are real estate investors who have multiple properties that they're trying to figure out how to manage. Or they might be people who are trying to figure out how to climb the ladder in the hospitality industry. Or there might be people who, like, there's some, you see how many different product offerings we even have from this one skill set. You could also teach people like how to do property management, because that's a huge pain in the market. Like with real estate investors, is like they can't rely on their property managers and they have all these problems with them. And you are excellent with that. So like this is how that can be transferable to a productized and scalable unit of information. So like that's an example there. We can take my mother-in-law, where like significant turning point in her story was when she began her catering business, and she still has that catering business, and that has brought her from working earning entry level income to being able to build a life for herself when so many odds were stacked against her. You know what I mean? It's like that was such a great opportunity for her. I'm sure that could be a great opportunity for someone else who just doesn't know that, hey, this is an option. Okay. And so the way I view it is we have a lot of poverty in our community, and it plagues us at different levels. Like we have very clear, obvious poverty, and then you have the type of poverty that I grew up in, which is very weird. And I might even get backlash for this, but I grew up in the middle class to where like we went on vacations. We had a lot of stuff that like other people didn't have. But why I define this certain class of poverty is like we still didn't know how to get to the next level. It was like my parents and my family members' suggestion was to become like a highly skilled professional and get a job in that. And that was going to be able to increase the average household income from 150,000 to maybe 200,000 or 250,000. And to me, I'm like, that's not the level I'm aspiring to, because I feel like that middle class, that requires every generation to restart. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's not really compounding. And so I want to figure out how I can compound in my lifetime and then pass on those skills, because I'm not going to get Lambo money at that level. I might be able to get a nice BMW or a Mercedes or something like that. But like, I'm not going to be able to get Lambo money. And I've been wanting a Lambo since I was like 6 years old. So like, there's different levels of poverty. There's the obvious poverty, and then there's the mental poverty. And I think that's what the middle class deals with. But our community doesn't have a lot of examples of how to basically, number one, defeat poverty through like the things that you're good at. And we're having more of them now, which I'm super grateful for. But like historically, we haven't had a lot of conversations around money and like, what do you do to make this sort of money versus what do you do to make this sort of money? And so there's not a whole lot of guidance. In the age of the internet now, though, you have the full 100% ability to guide people and not just in your neighborhood or your household, but far and wide. And that is a unique ability that we have now that should not be slept on, because you have the opportunity to contribute to turning our communities around and to start like implementing or start seeding certain information and opportunities into our community so that we can aspire to build careers that we're proud of, that are more than just what we see in our immediate environment. And that's something I want to be a part of. And that's why I'm even making this video today, because productizing your information is the difference between 6 figures a year and 7 figures a year, which is a big freaking gap. That is a big freaking gap to close. And the easiest way I've seen that gap closed by people like you and me who have a specialized expertise in something in particular, like you and I, we have it good, because this is like a pretty simple way to close that gap. And I've done it with multiple people, probably half a dozen people at this point, and I want the same thing for you. So close that gap between what you know you're worth. Actually, and if you don't know what you're worth, go measure what you're worth. How much money are you making the company you're working at? How much money are you making your clients? Like, how much money are you making the people who are asking you for advice? Go measure that. Go see how much money you've made all the people that you've helped in the last year or the last 3 years, and then measure it against what you've been paid to do it. And if you find that there's a large gap, then this is what I'm talking about, and you don't have to live that way.